Join us on the Expression Show today as we welcome Shiloh
Yeah,
Godson,
yeah.
an international acclaimed sound designer and composer whose work has captivated audience across the globe. Known for his ability to create immersive soundscapes, Shiloh's expertise spans multiple film genres, earning him accolades such as uh, AMVCA
Yeah.
nomination. As the founder of Hush Sounds, he continues to push the boundaries of sound design, leaving lasting, impressing impressions on movie enthusiastic worldwide. Uh, don't miss this chance to explore the magic behind the scene with Shiloh Godson. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
Uh,
Thank you, Rob.
thank you, man. Shiloh, what initially drew you to the field of sound design and film composition?
Uh, okay. I started pretty young. I think when I was like 5 or 6, I was playing drums,
Mm-hmm.
and I learned to play drums for this guy. He was like a drummer in the church I attended then, and he sat me on his laps and kind of showed me the ropes. I think I
Mm-hmm.
was 6 years old at the time. And then 2 years later, I was playing for like kind of concerts. I was playing drums for a concert at 7 years. I was about 7 years old. And then it kind of just, it kept going on. I think when I was 13, I first started a form of recording, but this was on a Yamaha keyboard. Then we had this big Yamaha keyboard which I usually borrowed, and then I would play some stuff, loop it like overdub, and play the next stuff, add the drums and like that. And one of those days, I think the church which I attended, not the church, but the kind of conference which I attended, then their, their pianist played it for them, and yeah, that was
Mm-hmm.
like it was like the first time which anything I'd done had, I mean, someone could play it out and kind of kept drawing me in. And when I was in kind of before when I got to high school, I was doing you guys call it high school, but we call it secondary school. Yeah. And
Secondary,
I was
okay.
kind of we call it secondary school, junior
Yeah.
secondary school. So I was doing edits for radio stations. So it just kept. I think I was always drawn to anything audio, and then
Yeah.
music. I taught myself the keyboard, but I got professional help for um, the bigger stuff.
Right, right. How do you approach creating soundtracks that leave lasting impressions on like movie enthusiasts?
Yeah, for instance, today I was listening to one of the scores I composed, one of the pieces composed for a film earlier
Mm-hmm.
this year. The name of the film is Out of Breath. It's yet to be released. It will be released on Netflix a couple of
Wow.
months from now.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm gonna make sure to check that out. Say
yeah,
that
yeah.
again. Say that again for the viewers,
The name
please.
of the film is Out of Breath. Out of Breath. That's the name of the
Out to
film.
breath. Out to breath.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Out of Breath. And
Definitely check
I,
that out.
yeah, and when I was writing the music of the film, I listened to one of the pieces, and that was the first piece I had written for the film. And coincidentally, I only had the script. They had not yet shot any footage yet. They had not done anything. I had not seen any image of what would be there. But from the script, I wrote that into the film, and coincidentally, that was like one of the main themes of the movie going into the film. It just fits perfectly into the picture. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the first thing is usually I'm usually surprised when some people say, they don't really, they're not that immersed in or immersed in the entire creative process. Because for me, once I read a script and I've agreed to work on the project, it kind of completely draws me in. I'm
Mhm.
constantly imagining things. You get the visuals on how this would happen, even without any footage shot. It's like you can feel the emotions, how it would transcend throughout the film. And that piece in particular, which I wrote, which is titled Left, it's a really nice piece because I listened to it today and I was actually quite impressed.
Mhm.
I wrote this last year, late last year, the piece itself, and I was very much impressed with what I heard. Just came like that. You feel the emotions and then you write.
Mhm.
But something strange happened earlier. Not strange, something really interesting happened earlier this year. Late last year, sorry. Kind of
Mhm.
confusing my dates. There was this piece which I wrote for Blind Spots, which was one of the stuff which I posted on LinkedIn. The film which I announced the release of the soundtrack. It's the main theme of the film, not the one which you guys heard, but
Mhm.
the main theme which actually brought out even that part which you guys heard, which is the variation of the main theme. When I was writing that, I'd written like I don't know, probably three different pieces for that scene. Beautiful pieces. They all sounded good, but it felt I'd wake up in the morning and be like, no, no, scrape it out, start again. And I got to this piece and I was kind of writing it, and there was this image of this African, not African, like a slave boy who was
Mhm.
looking up like this, and I posted there, and I started playing it. I started playing something, and the emotions were really. I mean, I really had to stop myself and step back to actually gain control of myself because I think I was,
Captivated. You know.
yeah. I mean, with what I was playing, that's the truth. I
Yeah.
mean, I was swelling with emotions. I had to catch myself, and that became what became the Why. It's in one of the soundtracks I released. It's titled Why. That's WHY, and
Okay. Okay.
it's amazing. So that's how
Why?
typically it starts. I think.
That's like
Yeah.
that's like kind of what we look for, like when we create. It's getting that feeling after we, you know what I'm saying, play it back to
Yeah.
ourselves. We wanna. That's what I feel all of us look forward
Yeah. Yeah.
to. Sometimes I
Yeah.
feel like we move a little too fast
Yeah.
past things, or like when we might feel good when we doing it, but once we, you know, hear it back, like what I'm saying, like you said, and just
Yeah. And it might sound trashy, and this was actually interesting. For instance, in that case, because I had to call the director.
right.
I called the director the next day when I was done with the piece. It took me over a day to write it, and it wasn't mostly writing. I mean, I would write, and
Uh
I
huh.
really enjoyed the entire process of writing that particular piece. I think, unlike the one which I posted on LinkedIn, that one just took me one less than a day to actually fully create
Yeah,
the
that one.
arrest
That
and
one
record the
was.
vocal.
Yeah.
No, but it was
Yeah.
quite quick. But that was quite quick. That's the truth. It was like a breeze, to be honest. It was quite quick. But on the Why, which was the first team I wrote for the film, and that it was from that Why, which even that one you guys had on LinkedIn, that's it's a variation of the Why. It still drew inspiration from that first Why, and that's why was the one which held me. I mean, I really once I finished that, wrote the second one, wrote the third, wrote the fourth, and literally to the end scene. I think everything just came out of that first idea. So the most important thing for me is usually getting that first idea, because once you get it, it's like you can create anything once you've gotten that main idea, which I call the team.
Right.
And
Can,
coincidentally, sorry to cut you.
no,
Coincidentally,
you're right.
okay. There are some films which I'm scheduled to work on later this year,
Mm-hmm.
which are uh, um, yeah, U.S. films, which Hollywood films, yeah, which are
Wow.
coincidentally uh, have
What
the
film can
same.
you? sorry about that. I wanted to so you can let the viewers know what films are within
Okay, I
the
have this.
Hollywood.
There's a film on Michael Jackson, uh, which is on the Jackson Five and Michael Jackson. I'm scheduled
Hmm.
to work on later this year.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
towards the end of the year.
Wow.
That's one.
Amazing.
There's also another film titled Safari, which I'm scheduled to work on this year.
Hmm. Wow.
There's one I'm still considering. I'm not sure if I would end up working. I'm not sure if I'll accept the offer, but it's on the table. I'm still considering it. So those are the
Wow.
couple of
That's
films.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm asking you some stuff that ain't even but I feel the viewers definitely need to hear this. Are you working with any have you are you working with any major like what major? I know you working with majors, but as far as in like with record company wise, like Universal Records or doing anything with any major like Warner Brothers,
No,
kind
I've
of
not.
records. Or,
No, I haven't worked with any major studio to be honest. But
Universal.
except no, not really. Except for instance,
Hmm.
Netflix and
Right,
Amazon.
right,
In this case, we have a film
right, right.
which just got released on Amazon last week. That's Amazon
I
Prime
mean,
last
I
week.
mean, what you doing? what you doing is huge.
I don't
I just was
think no.
wondering. I just was wondering, have you worked with them? I know it's gonna come where you're gonna do
Yeah, it's
something
going
with
to
them,
come.
but
Yeah,
uh,
in future.
I just was
We
wondering
hope.
if you had it. That's
We
cool,
hope.
man.
Yeah, it should come. It will come.
Oh,
We
it's
do
gonna
believe
come,
that.
man. With that,
Yeah.
with what you bringing it, I know, man. But what
Thank
you bringing
you.
to the table with your sound, with that
Yeah.
sound, is like I I know, I know that's where it's the future of
Thank you.
soundtracks. It's
Thank
the
you.
next, and that's beautiful sounds, man. Captivating, Can you and we need and one thing I would say we need that,
Yeah.
because everybody's getting tired of hearing the same thing, but our ears need
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
our ears
And
itch
more.
for, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And more importantly, I would say something which has been lacking. And this is a huge. I think it's a huge gap because there's no, for instance, there's no real known African American, for instance, uh,
Sound designer
composer
like yeah,
or sound designer. There's
right,
no
right,
there's none
exactly.
with from African origin who is like up there.
Yeah.
It's
Not
there's a
even
huge
here.
vacuum to be filled.
Yeah, not even here. It's not. It's like y'all. I mean, you look what you doing. I don't think here is not. It's not too many at all. Probably most definitely not. I feel like stuff like this should become more mainstream. Just like what you're doing should be more. You should be an artist too. It shouldn't be just like just singers, just rappers, just you know what I'm saying. Uh,
Yeah,
these type of things should become more mainstream. Just like you have a lot of young African Americans that are actually
yeah,
taking over the
yeah,
blues. They're taking
yeah,
over the
yeah,
blues industry,
yeah. Of course,
and they
owning
doing
it.
real well. They
Yeah,
doing
owning
real
it.
well.
I think
But
they really own it.
they definitely. I mean,
Yeah,
we originated it. So
yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah,
just like the band, the banjo originated from what
yeah, yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
what was it Africa, I
The
know, but I'm
banjo.
trying to. Banjo came from I think it was originated out
Where?
of out of Africa, out of either what they say forgot right now, but it was like either Nigeria or
Oh wow,
Ghana or one of those places. But it was some
wow,
it was
wow.
that's where the banjo originated. So
That's interesting. I
yeah,
didn't
yeah,
know
no,
that. I know.
yeah,
No, I
look it
didn't know
up.
that. Yeah, but I do know several instruments which came from Africa. There are quite a lot. You have the congas. You have the,
Yeah, all I had to say was the banjo.
Mhm.
The drums are
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
automatically came. You already know that. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah, definitely.
and that's about everything right there. Nah, nah.
Of course,
But then yeah,
everything, everything. Yeah, and civilization. If we're even being honest, it's even bigger than just music.
yeah, Can you share a memorable project where you sound design played a crucial role in the film's success?
Yeah. Yeah. For instance, there's this last one which got released on Amazon,
Mhm.
Blackmail. I think I would give two examples. I would give first on Blackmail, and then I would give another on another film. On Blackmail, I think it was quite interesting because typically the director sent me. The director is a close friend of mine. He is a British Nigerian director and producer, Obi Eminu.
Okay.
He's a very close friend of mine. He initially sent me the script when he was still writing it, and then he sends the script when usually that's what he does. He sends the unwritten script, and then we bring stuff into it. We bring our own additions. Like it would be cool if we had this here for the
And these
film
is
when the
like
film is.
and this is like music notes sheets you're talking about scripts,
Uh, 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 uh,
composition
and
type.
and if we're okay, uh, I mean, making changes to the scripts, bringing inputs to the scripts, and bringing that because it was the same director who directed Out of Breath. Um, when he was writing the script, because he had to make a lot of changes to the original script, yeah.
Hmm.
So when he was making changes to the screenplay, uh, we would have we literally would speak every evening, and he would be making changes. And it wasn't just me; it was a
Hmm.
collaborative effort. He was also reaching out to. He has a big team, so he was reaching out to everyone, and we were bringing our own inputs. I brought mine, several others brought theirs, what they felt would help the film. I brought mine from, for instance, from some perspective, for instance, how I felt in the scene, what we could do with sound going forward into that scene, what we could do
Hmm.
with local instruments, instruments which are not really mainstream, what we could do with those to create stuff, the kind of stuff which would go within the entire film, down to the drum beats, down to because I ended up traveling to a very remote, rural, unstable area to go record. I traveled down to a state called Imo State in Nigeria.
Hmm.
At the time, it was a bit, I don't want to use chaotic, but it was a bit violent. There were lots of killings happening there. And I
Hmm.
went with just someone and just a friend. We went down there and we got a team and we started recording these local drummers. And these are drummers you wouldn't find in any major city. You couldn't find those
Right.
drummers in any major city. We had to go down there to record. And while recording, we'd send him stuff, and literally it was helping the entire editing process because we'd say, "This is what we have here. What will we have here?" And like that from the writing. So from the writing down to the editing to the final music, the final score, and then the sound
Yeah.
design because I led the two departments in that case. I led the sound design department. I composed the music of the film as well. Uh, and in both areas, it was like, how can we sync everything together? How can we make it sound like everything is the sound design elements, the soundscape. How can we blend it together with the music? And one thing which we did, which is unlike what you have in most cases, is we used the same notes, for instance, on which we have on the score. We used it on the sound design. So there are several elements which you would never hear. I mean, with your ears, you would never notice them. But these were things
Right.
which we put there. So when the score comes in, it doesn't sound like it's coming out of nowhere. You feel like you've already been in that space, and it feels like it's
Mm.
in sync with the sound design element. So that's just one
Wow.
example of how much I and
I
my team,
understand.
because
I
it's not
understand. I,
because it's
I
not just
definitely
me.
understand somewhat with what you're saying too.
Yeah.
Definitely. I
because it's not just myself, because I have a team, and I'm kind of lucky. I have very devoted team members. They stay up all night for me. I mean, while working on certain, like, some of the last projects we worked on together,
well, if you need, if you
sometimes they will stay 3 days without sleeping and without batting an eye. They wouldn't think of it, and it's really crazy. It's really happening to such people. Yeah,
if you need some ideas on anything or any, any sounds or some sounds, I do
yeah,
have
yeah.
quite a few. I could email you some you can listen to,
Okay,
some you can possibly
that'll be cool.
use in something.
That'll be
I
cool.
make
That'll
I
be
make
cool.
some crazy, I make some pretty interesting sounds, man.
I want to
I'm
hear
just,
them.
yeah, yeah. So just let me know, and I'll send you some stuff, man. Maybe you can use some of those crazy different sounds or whatever. And
Yeah.
most right now I can do. Well, I can do the one shots and what I'm saying, they mostly all be one shots, but uh,
Okay.
so I don't know. I know you got a ton of different equipment and programs you can use and really, you know,
Yeah,
uh, um, import them in there and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
really,
Make rhythm, make loops out of them, extend them,
most definitely.
uh, blend them with other elements, layer them. Yeah, I
It,
think there are many options.
right, yeah, to know them out in different, that's the coolest way to know them all out, so you can
Yeah,
play
yeah,
it in every note.
yeah,
And
yeah,
you
yeah.
can
So,
really see where that sound is at. What are your some well, how does your international experience in London, Canada, and Nigeria influence your work as a second design as a sound designer? Sorry.
okay. In terms of sound design, it's difficult to say. There are different cultures. For instance, on one of the projects I did last year, the
Hmm.
Belgium one, uh, that was quite different because it was completely Belgian. And for instance, in Belgium, you don't have cricket sounds, you don't have cicadas sounds. There's the cricket sounds which you hear in some places. You don't have those at night, because it's
Why don't,
it's
so let
devoid
me
of.
ask you let me ask you a
Yeah,
question about that. Um,
yeah,
so what you're saying is that you like at times y'all go and take real live sounds, record real
yeah.
live
We do,
sounds.
we do. Of course, we
I mean,
do.
why don't you just because I don't. I mean, I'll do that, but it's like I don't. I just take it off something else. You got so much technology now. Just take a recording or
Yeah,
something
I do.
over.
Yeah, I
You
understand
do it
what.
like that too.
No, no, no. I do. Of course, sometimes you can, and I do that sometimes,
Uh
depending
huh.
on the project. But in most cases, truth is, for instance, if you've listened to the trailer for Blackmail, it's a film
Hmm.
which I did. I think it's on my LinkedIn stuff. You could hear the sound design which I created because I created the sound for the
Hmm.
trailer. I did the trailer audio. So, going through it, you would hear click, clack, click, clack, clack. It sounds like machinery working. And how I did that, which was quite interesting, was I traveled down to this
Hmm.
printing press. Um, it was I just went down there and I had seen the trailer. I already had the idea which I wanted, and we used mechanical sounds. Printing press clicks. This big calculators hit it, so you have the click clack. These were all
Yeah.
original sounds, and by the
Right.
time you
Right.
layer them, process it, it's different. It's new. Anyone who hears it will know, even though
Yeah. Yeah.
there might be similarities to it, but you would
Right.
know
Right.
definitely
Right.
what you're hearing is purely
It's,
original,
yeah. It's
and
authentic. Yep.
and
Yep.
yeah, completely authentic. And it sounds, I don't know, that's how I go about my process, because in most cases what you're listening to has been used by several people already.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff which you call it, I mean, stuff which you pay for, you download,
Yeah.
have been used by several people. So how do you make yours authentic? You just sound like literally every single one there. So if it's possible
Yeah.
for me to travel, I travel down and go record the stuff myself. I record, even on sound design, I record ambience myself. We go and we record them
Wow.
ourselves and use them. Uh, on one of the films, some of the films we worked on, we have them speaking indigenous languages, that's languages which are not mainstream, not English, not all that. And we create Wala. We had like 2 hours of Wala on the last project, which I on not the last I think 3 projects ago.
Mhm.
We did that on. We had this Walas on, and we recorded their. You'd hear full dialogues going on in the background if you pay attention to them. But they sounded. They make this seem very authentic. It feels like really you're in that place. Even if you've never
Mhm.
been to that location before, it feels like you're actually in there at that moment. You feel the way you
Yeah.
hear the sounds which they would hear. And you can't get that except if you go down there. In some cases,
Right.
you
Right.
never get that. You never know what you're creating except if you go down there and you be there. Then you hear the noises, you hear the way it sounds, and you want the audience to feel like they're in that spot. It's
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible to use generic sounds to create that.
I agree with you on that, man. You know, it's different
Yeah.
levels. It's different levels to it. You know, what are and it's all about your way, your process. You know, you go about your process. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this brings me into one of the first film I worked on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There was this. There were tanks in the movie, and to create those tanks, that was interesting because I went down to an army barracks. I mean, this was literally when I was starting out, so I didn't have any form of connection. I had very little money and all that, and I went to the barracks and I met them there and I begged them, give them some, give them, asked them if they wanted money. They said they didn't want, and I told them all I want to do is I just want to get you to start one tank, like run the engine of a tank. There's your
Mm-hmm.
armored tanks, and I record it. That's all. And he took me to offices. I spent the whole day trying to get, and I think around 7 p.m. or so, they finally allowed me to go record this tank, and they on the engine, and yeah, I recorded the tank, and the audio of the tank on its own was not enough to make you feel like this is a huge tank.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to blend the audio of the tank with this this refuse trucks which take waste, this waste trucks sewage. So I had to record one of them which had their exhaust destroyed, and I recorded that, layered it, and then that's what is even on the trailer. You hear a tank moving down. Literally, it's literally from a real life ammo truck.
The real. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
sewage
yeah.
truck, and a couple of other trucks layered together. So I get a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fun from doing this. It's even more fun than
Yeah, I know. I can imagine it, man. I can see.
yeah, it's a
I mean,
lot of fun.
I haven't did, on that level of sound designing yet, or I haven't had the opportunity to sound design for a film. Is all I'm saying.
Okay, okay,
I sound design for music, songs, stuff like
okay.
that. But I
Yeah,
would love to, man, get into that. Can you
that's fun.
what advice would you give to the inspiring sound designers uh, looking to break into the film industry, like myself? And
Uh,
that was actually a question too, man. That was on here.
yeah, yeah. I'll tell you how I got into it, and my story is probably unique, but it was on LinkedIn. Uh,
Oh,
I,
okay, wow.
I looked through some films which I've seen before, I was looking through films which I've seen before, and I saw this. There was this film which was the last film I and my siblings watched. I can remember we watched together in our family house, and it
Mm-hmm.
was quite an interesting movie, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was shocked, stunned at the quality of the film, and it was a 2012 movie,
Mm-hmm.
and I reached out to the director on LinkedIn in I
Wow.
think 2018, 2019. I reached out to the
Everybody,
director and I had not done any film prior to that, and I told him,
everybody hear that?
I've,
LinkedIn. Everybody, the
yeah, yeah,
audience, LinkedIn. I'm
yeah,
telling you, get on LinkedIn. Great
yeah.
connection.
Yeah, so I sent him a message, and months later, and immediately, not months later, that same day, he replied me and he was like, "Yeah, he thanked me for sending him because I just told him admired his work,
Mhm.
and I really admired this work. I didn't tell him anything I wanted, and he told me, thanked me, and he asked if I could sound design, and I didn't even know the definition of sound design, so I told him, yeah, I can write score, and I sent him the music, and he was like,
Yeah,
no, not score. He has a composer for that film, and he told me, can I sound design the movie,
yeah,
soundscape, and all that? He really
yeah,
defined it, and I went and I checked, and I said, yeah, I can, and he told me he appreciates the hustle because he knew he knew I
yeah,
didn't know
yeah.
what I was talking about, and he said he would send, and he said he would send me a 3 minute clip and I should do whatever I think I can do
Right.
on it. And he sent me this 3 minutes clip, and I worked
Wow.
on it, and I sent to him. It wasn't great by any standard, and he looked at it and he said, "It's okay. It's not all that great." And he said he would send me a 6 minute version, which is the most important scene in one of literally the most important scene in the film, to be honest. And he sent it to me, and I was amazed seeing tanks, and this was my first film. I was amazed seeing tanks and soldiers shooting themselves and what have you.
Yeah.
And I told him I would get it done in 6 days, and I worked on it. Spent enough time working on it. I was done on the fourth day, and then the
Mhm.
remaining 2 days I was just doing finishing. There's something which I learned when I was younger. It says a man told me the most important part of your work is the finishing. That's the finishing, the completion, that last bit you have to do to make that wood smooth. That's the
Mhm.
main part. It's not literally bringing wood together. Anyone can do that. But how you smoothing it out, that everyone who looks at it will say this was a work well done. And so I spent that time doing that. And when he saw it, he said he called me the next day and was stunned. He said he didn't believe it. What I did with the heads, there was a scene where I moved everybody's all the shouting to their heads, and this was my first time ever doing any form of sound design. And he was stunned, and he
Wow.
asked me if I've ever done it before, and I told him no, I've not done it. Obviously, I'd never done it before, but these were the things in my head when I saw the scene.
Yeah.
I was lucky, even though I started with music production. I
Mhm.
I was lucky to be able to understand how to use the tools to create what I had in my head.
Right.
Because
Right.
most times people have stuff in their head and they don't have the necessary skills to be able to bring that to reality. So they end up compromising, and what they sounded would be bad. So in this case, I was lucky enough to have enough skills. I was already very good with Pro Tools. I mean,
Mhm.
super good with Pro Tools at the time. So was easy for me to create this stuff. And from there, he gave me the film. I did that, and here we are, 14 or
It's
15 years
incredible,
later.
man. I got one more. I got one more
Yeah.
question, but I wanted to ask you one question before that one. What is it? When you make it?
Okay.
So do you just make sound effects type sounds, or do you make
Okay.
those type of sounds and some musical sounds in the film?
Okay. Usually, in currently at the moment, mostly called to score, or in some cases, they want me to both score and sound design the film together.
Mm.
Um, And in the case of, I mean, in a case like that, I'm just one person, so I can't
Right.
do both concurrently. So I have a team, excuse
Right.
me,
So you
and
work. Yeah, okay.
yeah, I have
Y'all work
team
together.
a
Y'all
team of assistants.
brainstorm, man. Okay.
Yeah, I have a team of sound
That's
designers.
awesome.
Uh,
Awesome.
uh, One of them is his name is Femi Onanipekun. He actually wrote. He's on my LinkedIn page somewhere there. And the other is Miriam Shungotola. She's really good. A girl and a guy. Both of them are really good. And these are my two main hands. So I
Yeah.
take my time and we go through the entire. We spend hours. I'll go through the scenes and I'll be telling them what I want to hear there, and we discuss
Right.
it. They tell me what they think about it. We brainstorm about how the scenes would be, this scene,
Right.
what we want to hear, the kind of
Mhm.
drums. In some cases, like there's a film which we did, which the director was specific throughout that classroom. He didn't want to hear music. He was certain he didn't want music in the classrooms. Every other place would have music, but that place he wanted it separate. And to
Mhm.
create that, we ended up using congas, but this was sound design. And I clearly explained to her this what I wanted, explained to her, explained to him. And through it all, I'm writing the music or writing on the same notes. She's
Mhm.
creating sound design, she's creating soundscape, he's creating Foley, he's creating design. It's
Y'all
really
just work
fun. I
together.
mean,
Yeah, it is.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
know it
yeah.
is, man.
Because it's really
I can
fun
only.
because I think most people, uh, and this is what I did on the film Blackmail, which got released on Amazon on the 12th. That's some days back. Um, it was acquired by Amazon finally after a couple of years, and I did the entire sound design work from start to finish myself. I went
Mhm.
to police station, and it was quite good. If you
Mhm.
listen to the sound, I got nominations for it. The film is a critical success. But I did all that work myself, and you burn yourself out.
Nice.
There are little stuff which you don't have to put that much energy in, and there's also the stuff which there are ideas which you wouldn't think of naturally, and you need someone to bring something up, and then you think about those ideas. So
Hmm.
these guys, this my team, they bring up crazy good
Right. Right.
ideas, and I mean they are quite intelligent and they're quite seriously devoted. I mean,
Right. Wonderful.
yeah, it's difficult to match my level
Yeah.
of my work ethic, but
Mhm.
these guys are up there too, and they spend their time, they create the whole stuff, and at the end of the day, what you hear will be way better and way faster, more importantly, than if I had done everything myself. If I had written the music and sound design, no, something will have to give. Either the music will sound good, the sound design will sound shitty, or
Mhm.
if I sound design, the sound design will sound great, the music will sound a little bit below average. But if you have enough people who are good and are holding your hand, I think you could create real magical stuff.
That's wonderful, man.
Yeah.
What are your future? And this is the last question. Question. Um, what are your future goals as a composer and sound designer, and how do you plan to achieve them?
Okay. There are a couple of directors who I want to work with, obviously. Um, and I think the best way to achieve them is by creating stuff which
Hmm.
should be the best in the world. That's my thought, and I learned this recently, reading something which spoke about you don't create what you think is good. You do what you think is best. It should be able to stand out there. And for instance, what I posted there on LinkedIn, literally everyone will look at it and will be like, "Oh, this was." Most of the comments I've gotten have been really great. They love the stuff. Uh, they love the music. But the truth is, I had written four amazing pieces of music for that scene. I mean, I had finished them. Beautiful. I was listening back to some of them and I was amazed because those
Hmm.
never made it into the film. Those have been discarded. That's the truth. Really good stuff, but it didn't feel like this was it. You understand? Until when I wrote that scene and that particular piece, and when I was writing it, because I was writing it with my vocalist, she was in the room at the time, and
Hmm.
Annie, she was in the room with me when I was writing, and once I wrote the first beat, which was the piano, really, I was already certain this was it, and I told her what because I actually do the vocal. I tell them what I want them to say, so I
Hmm.
literally tell them. I tell them how I want it to sound because everything is supposed to actually
Yeah.
go on in my head, yeah. So I tell them how I want it to sound, how it progresses, and she was amazing. She did the entire stuff, which ended up being what that was. And that took me a couple of hours to do.
Hmm.
Well, to create that, uh, I had to go through three different pieces of music, which were good, but were not as great as that. So the only way I think of getting to this stage, getting to achieve the goals which I have, which are really, really big goals. I'm not sure I should be able to say them here because I'm still very grateful for
Right, right.
people I get, the films I get to work on, the calls I
Yes,
get,
sir.
the offers I get. I'm really grateful for that. But the only way I can think I can achieve and clear my bucket list is to keep creating the best I think I can create at every given
Right.
moment in time. Sometimes it fails. There was a project I worked on earlier this year, which was not. I wasn't anywhere close to my best. I'm
Hmm.
aware of that. I know. I know what I created there, and I still look back with some regret. But the truth is, if you keep creating the best or the best you think you can create at the time, you will always get opportunities to do this. And more importantly, if possible, even if it's collaboration for
Hmm.
free, this is something I'll tell the ones which are starting out. Even if it's collaborating for free, I could have done my first film for free if that was put on the table. I would have done it. I spent several months
Exactly.
working on it. I would have happily done it for free
So
because the truth
that,
of the
that,
matter is, yeah, the truth of the matter is,
please let the viewers know that, and people, that's because I've talked to people a lot about that. You
yeah,
got a lot of people out here, they don't, they're not appreciative, and they don't, the hustle, like you
mm,
said, that's how you do it.
yeah, yeah,
Sometimes you gotta do it free the first time,
yeah.
to get your name out there, and get in there,
Your name that, and that's the most important thing, which many people don't understand. It's
Exactly.
difficult for someone to hire you when they've not seen anything you've done. I was very lucky with Obi Emile. Yeah, in my head he was God sent because he had not seen any prior work of
Right.
mine. I had not done
It
any work
was.
in film when he brought me. But in most cases, and I was paid to do that, to be honest. In
Right.
most
That's a
cases,
blessing.
you don't get that chance. You understand? All you need to
Yeah.
do is get something which people can go and they will say, and you could tell them, see what I did. And they could look at it
Mm.
and decide for themselves if you're good. No one will hire you if you've not, uh, 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 no one would, no director would automatically, most directors, I wouldn't say no director have been hired by a director who didn't see any work, but most directors
Mhm.
wouldn't hire someone who they've not seen prior work. They've not
Yeah.
seen any stuff which shows you can do this. And in my
Right.
case, I wouldn't have been hired if I didn't get the 3 minutes version. I didn't get the 6 minutes version, which I worked on for free. And if he had sent
Right.
more, I would have still worked on it for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That was wise. That was wise, man. You was
yeah,
being
and I
wise,
got
man.
yeah, and I got into a fight with my partner, my studio partner at the time. We almost
Hmm.
got into a fight because he was like, "How would I be working on this for free?
For
And I'm
free.
spending hours on bills that are coming in. Obviously, I'm spending
Uh huh.
so many
Yeah.
days on this for free."
You gotta
He
look
was
at the
like,
bigger picture.
"Yeah, yeah, yeah,"
Look where
but
you
then
at
it was
now.
set. Yeah, it was certain. If I had not taken that opportunity, the truth is, I don't know where I would have been now in terms
Right.
of this, my career. I'm more likely I wouldn't be sitting here with you having this conversation. And that's the honest truth.
Wow.
Because before you get another person who would throw their hats in and say, okay, let's check you out, let's test you with our film.
Mm.
I mean, a project which was several hundred thousands of dollars,
That's
someone would trust you
amazing,
with
man.
that. It's a
Amazing,
huge
man.
risk, really. So if they
Shiloh,
can do it
man.
for free, I would say yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you just having me on the
Thanks,
show.
Rob.
You even giving us an honor, and the
Yeah,
insight that you supplied, man, was
yeah.
awesome, man. I mean, and thanks for
Thanks, Rob.
being on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate it.
Rob. I actually did